We need to do some catching up on the Giants. Los Gigantes de Nueva York. A big win in their legacy uniforms against the Bears at home. And then they went to jolly old England. Are you from London? They went to London. Look, kids, Big Ben. And they pulled out a big win over A-Rod. Wow. I missed it live. Had to do a little bit of a quick catch-up because I was flying home from South Carolina. So we'll get into the Giants-Bears, Giants-Packers, and look ahead at the upcoming schedule. Got Giants-Ravens. Oh boy, the Wink Martindale revenge game. All right, let's talk New York football. Giants. Let's talk Giants. I was unable to watch the Giants-Bears game. I was down in South Carolina, and they don't have the game. They don't carry the game down there. Tried to hoodwink YouTube TV by using a NordVPN or whatever to change the home area to New York, and that did not work. And it only took me about an hour and a half to figure that out. Luckily, I was able to listen to the game on my phone because I have some kind of Sirius XM account. I think that works with that. So I was able to listen to Bob Papa and Carl Banks, two of the best to do it. Although Bob Papa, serious mistake, jinxing Graham Gano towards the end of the game, and then Gano misses it, and we're only up by 8. Oh boy. That was tense. But I don't know that the Giants were wearing their legacy uniforms, which I love. I could do without the red jerseys, seeing those ever again. I could do without seeing the all whites color rush. We have never won in those. Burn them. But the legacy uniforms, like the Giants home unis from the 80s and 90s, chef's kiss, my dude. So good. So sweet. And we got a W. We got a win. So guess what? They get to stick around. And I'd like to see more of those. Although it's interesting to see. I didn't think that the jersey color would be that much different from the helmet color. It feels like they really leaned into that contrast more so than usual. Like I watch old Giants games and it doesn't pop out like that to me as much as it does nowadays. But I guess that's just because high def, 4K, that kind of thing. The more you see, the more you know. I don't know. But let's try to work those into the schedule a little bit more often. Definitely dug it. Loved what they did with the field, changing the end zone colors. Like, can we just keep those? Let's just keep rolling with it, dude. Bylaws and codes be damned. But and they played the game like it was a legacy game, like they were the 80s Giants, 90s Giants. Strong defense, strong run game, not much of a pass game. I don't know that we've ever, and I need to look this up. I'm sure there's a stat on Twitter somewhere. When's the last time we threw for less than 100 yards and won the game? And that's all a tribute. 71 passing yards. Whoa, dude. Like, that is a drive for Aaron Rodgers. And we'll get to A-Rod in a little bit. But that's like a drive for Mahomes, Brady. It's a drive. And we did it through 4 quarters. Of course, didn't help that Danny Dimes went down with an ankle injury, a severe ankle injury that put our quarterback situation in great peril for the game against the Packers, compounded by the fact that Tyrod Taylor comes in, throws a pick, but ends up getting a crucial first down and is knocked out of the game with a concussion. And with the concussion situation, everything that's happened after Tua, the updates to the protocol, like Teddy Bridgewater went down with what was considered to be a concussion. I don't think it was as serious as Tua's. I mean, you can just use your eyeballs and you can tell it's not as serious. But I think if Tua doesn't happen, that Bridgewater goes back in that game. So I don't think the Giants were going to take any chances with Tyrod Taylor. And then, so we just, Brian Daboll and Mike Kafka just calmly, collectively decide, let's just do the Wildcat with Saquon. I'll draw up some plays on the sideline. We good. We Gucci. It's like, what? And it's successful. And it like didn't backfire, all positive. And they decided to keep it for the Packers game as well, which I totally agree with. I think you need to, why get rid of it? It's worked almost every time we've run it. So 71 passing yards. Holy macaroni, dude. 262 rushing yards. And that's really the main takeaway from that game. 262 rushing yards led by Saquon. Saquon is back. Big time, dude. Big time. I'm talking, this is like, his rookie year was awesome. This is better than his rookie year. I mean, he won Offensive Rookie of the Year that year, pretty sure. And he looks better than he did his rookie year. I mean, he's just making supreme cuts. Just some deli thin slice cuts, my man. And he's got to be in the running for, I don't know if he can be comeback player of the year. I've stated before that I have a future on that for him to win, even though I don't know if he can win because he technically came back last year. I don't know, but I got him for that. I got Daboll for coach of the year. I mean, McDaniel was in the front running, was the front runner for coach of the year, but then Tua goes down and then they lose lose 40-17 to the Jets, which through no fault of his own. Bridgewater goes out, and then you have like a 7th round rookie come in, and it's like, even the Jets are turning things around, and good for them. But in addition to Saquon being officially way back, so back that he's now ahead of everyone else, he's a front runner, or he leads the league in scrimmage yards or something like that, and that's a huge testament to the offensive line. The offensive line looked like hot garbage against the Dallas Cowboys, and since that game, they've only allowed 2 sacks, once against the Bears, once against the Packers. They held Robert Quinn, who's a sack specialist from the Bears, in check, which was huge. Meanwhile, the Bears gave up 6 sacks. We only gave up 1. Third down efficiency yet again. Very nice. Not as great as it was the first 2 weeks, but 33% conversion, not too bad. I mean, and a lot of those conversions is due to the fact that Fields, hard to contain. Dude can scramble, and he can pick up chunks with them legs, them stems. But the bigger note on third down efficiency is that we converted 42% of third downs, which is, we haven't seen those numbers in a long time, my man, long time. And then we continue to dominate time of possession, which is so key. The longer you can keep other offenses off the field, the better. They go cold, right? And they can't operate as efficiently. So the more clock we can kill, the more soul we can sap out of our opponents. Justin Fields only completed half of his passes for 174 yards. And there's plenty of tape out there, plenty of game film that shows him missing reads, missing open guys, possibly missing a touchdown or 2. But that's what happens when you get pressure. Quarterbacks don't think clearly. Even Tom Brady, that's how we beat the Patriots twice, was we got consistent pressure on him and disrupted his rhythm and his flow and his confidence. Of course, the run defense, not great. With not having Leonard Williams, huge. Khalil Herbert averaged over 4 yards a carry. Justin Fields, he's picking up 7 yards an attempt. So that is somewhat concerning, but it's not at the point where where it was, I think a few years ago, it might have been 2017 possibly, where we just, it was, you could run at will and there was just no stopping. It was literally every play is going for 6-7 yards every single time. Versus now it's like maybe they give up a big run here or there, but when the chips are down and they're pushed up against the wall, they're coming up big against the run. And I think that's the critical difference there. Darnell Mooney, who I kind of wrote off a few years ago, is like, he's a legit dude. He's a legit receiver. 4 catches and 5 targets and 94 yards. The big news, dude, Treston Ebner, 2 fumbles, 1 loss, and Velus Jones with that fumble on the punt, losing that towards the end of the game. That was big time. Adoree Jackson had the pick. That was more of a Hail Mary from Tyrod Taylor, who thought he saw something, thought he got a free play. It was not a free play. And if I was in a better location spot, my normal tweeting spot, I'd tweet that it looks like Tyrod Taylor is our best punter, because I know that Jamie Gillen is a Scottish hammer. He can crush the ball, but in terms of getting inside the 20, he ain't no Weatherford, he ain't no Feagles. So something to work on and improve on. A guy, the linebacker that I wanted the Giants to trade for, Roquan Smith, led the team for Chicago in tackles. I think it was 8 total, so 6 solo, 2 assists. Adoree Jackson had himself a day. But like I said, 0 tackles for loss. That's a big stat. And only the 1 sack. Again, huge. And of course, the Bears signed some kicker no one's heard of before off the streets, and he goes 4-4. And our guy, Gano, who's Mr. Automatic, also Scottish, I believe. Love the Scots, dude. I'm a little Scottish. I don't know if you know that. I always lead in the intro with I'm Italian, I'm Irish. I have a little bit of Scot in me. That would explain the anger issues. So, Trenton Gill, the Chicago's punter, lands 3 inside the 20, and it would just be nice to see Gillen kind of get into that rhythm, that flow. But that last punt he had where Velus Jones fumbles, that is all Jamie Gillen. I mean, it's great that you get distance, and we love the distance, but if you're punting 60, 65 yards and the guys are returning at 20 plus yards, you're almost better off. Let's get a 40, 45 yard punt, but put some serious hang time on it. And if you can get right in the middle there, that's the sweet spot. Like if you can get a guy retreating, and that's exactly what happened. It was a punt that we absolutely needed. And you can tell with a lot of other punters not named Feagles or Weatherford, that could be an issue where it's like you shank it and all of a sudden the Bears are in Giants territory, didn't have to do anything. Or you smoke the ball, but then you give the guy plenty of time to catch it, and he's got a lane or plenty of runway to work with. So I like where Gillen's. I think he's becoming an essential asset. I mean, who knows what Riley Dixon would have done in that situation? You know what I'm saying? So, like we said, Jones only 8 of 13 for 71 yards. Tyrod Taylor, who everyone wanted to replace Jones after the preseason, 1 of 3, 11 yards and a pick. Barkley, 31 carries, 146 yards, averaging 4.7. Hell yeah. And of course, you have to love the boot calls from Kafka with Jones. 2 touchdowns, pretty much identical, the same plays, boot fake play action right, boot left, and you have Bellinger down there. And I just saw a tweet about Bellinger. Fairly low-key, under the radar, underrated draft pick. We got him in the 4th round, 5th round, and that's one of the picks. I believe that's one of the picks we got from the Bears in the trade that landed them Justin Fields. I saw someone tweeted that. Like, in that trade, the trade's pretty much finished now, completed. All the elements are there. Bears get Fields. We got Bellinger. I'm like, I don't know. 3. Kadarius Toney. What was the other one? Look this up real quick. Aaron Robinson, Evan Neal. I mean, what a haul. Aaron Robinson's like, that's tough. And the jury's out on Toney just because he can't stay on the field. But goddamn, when he's on the field and they actually learn how to call plays for him, I don't know if I'm that big a fan of the designed plays so far. I'd like to see him get some work into like a play that's not scripted for him. That would be great, because I think once he's on the field, all eyes are on him, and it's like they're kind of keying on him for design plays. And so I don't think a lot of them have worked out, even though, some of them should be shut down for losses, and he manages to pick up positive yards. So, dude, I'm pulling for Kadarius Toney. I want him to succeed, but it's like, I don't know, you got to get your body right, my man. So I'd say we won that trade big time, and Bellinger is a major reason why. His stats are not going to make your eyeballs pop, right? Nothing that's going to blow your mind too much, but great blocker, steady hands. He's not this Travis Kelce player that he was hyped to be for some reason at one point, just because he attended like the tight end school or whatever. But Mr. Consistent, dude, he shows up every week and he has either a key block or a key catch, and he did it again against the Bears. So he led the team, 3 catches, 23 yards on 3 targets. Tanner Hudson, kind of also a low key acquisition. I mean, he's not dropping panties per se, but he is showing up and he is contributing to this offense. And they had to, because their wide receiver room is a goddamn mess. Slayton suits up, only gets 2 targets, 1 catch, 11 yards. Galladay, 1 target, no catches, no yards. Holy shit. And then he has an mystery injury, and doesn't make the trip to London against Green Bay. Saquon, only 2 targets, but 2 catches, 16 yards. And then the defense coming up big yet again with forced fumbles. Jod Ward with a forced fumble. Tate Crowder, Azeez Ojulari. We have guys on this defense that weren't on active rosters, like as recent as like 2 weeks ago. And these guys are making huge plays. Fabian Moreau, he was a late preseason signing, I think, late training camp signing. He had 2 passes defended. Nick Williams, I don't think was part of the rotation when we put together the first depth chart. Just insane. What the level of play that we're getting. I mean, Tate Crowder had a huge bounce back game, 7 tackles, 1 sack. Jalen Smith, kind of weird. And this might be this might be related to a new regime being like, we don't want anything to do with the old regime or any of the old personnel. I don't think Jalen Smith played that bad when he was signed. Was it last year, the year before? It was last year. I don't think he played that bad, and he's proving himself yet again this year. So it's kind of crazy that it took us that long to come around to signing him again, and that he was available again, because you can see he made a pretty big impact against the Bears, and then was playing pretty well again against the Packers. So it does make you wonder, like, was the aversion to him because, he's a Joe Judge signing or Dave Gettleman signing? Like, we can't have that in the clubhouse. Like, I don't know, dude. He's pretty much a step up over Austin Calitro, like a few steps up, a few notches above. So I very excited about that win. It came down to the wire, obviously. Even that like last drive, the last second play after the missed field goal, it was like I had visions, sweaty flashbacks of and they keep playing it too. I don't know if it's a commercial for like next gen stats or whatever, but they don't show the actual video. They just show the X's and O's with the audio call, the radio call. And so I have that running through my head, when the Dolphins versus the Patriots from 18, 19? I don't know. Where it was like last play of the game and they just kept like lateral. And then Rob Gronkowski is the last man standing of defense, last line of defense for the Patriots as the Dolphin, I forget who it was, Kenyon Drake maybe, takes it to the house to win the game. So I was like, that was definitely flowing through my veins as that last series was going on. But big win, wasn't pretty, but that's what we do, dude. We're ugly and I fucking love it because it makes it's reviled by their style of play, the Giants. If you're not a Giants fan and if you're just a football fan or you member the media, you are barfing out your butt over how we're playing right now because it's so ugly, but it gets wins, gets W's. That's all we care about. So of course I didn't record last week because I was down in South Carolina visiting family and I just didn't have my usual setup on my equipment. I thought about it, but then I was like, this is going to come across as amateur hour. Not that this is that much more polished, but if I had to give a prediction for the Packers game, I think the line was at the Giants were +8. Tempted to take it because I was like, it is in London. I think if this game is played in Green Bay, I don't think we win. I just think that environment and the comfort level that Aaron Rodgers has there on his home turf, I think the fact that this was played in London gave us an advantage. Even though it seemed like most of the crowd, it was essentially a Packers home game because I think there were more Packers fans than Giants fans. And you could hear that. I mean, they were playing Go Pack Go, which I don't hate the Packers like I hate the Rams or the Eagles and Cowboys. And that Go Pack Go gets me every time. I caught myself coming there like, Go Pack. Jesus, what are you doing? But yet again, we win the battle on the ground. We outgained the Packers in rushing yards by a good 31 yards. We're averaging 5.7 yards per play. Again, only the one sack allowed, which I tell you in that first half, I flew back from South Carolina. I originally was supposed to take off at 6:05 in the morning and land at 7 something. And I figured I could get back in time for the start. And of course it got delayed to 7:25. And so I didn't land till 9. And then I missed the train. So I didn't get home till like 11 something. So luckily I recorded the game and I was able to play catch up. And the first half was kind of playing out as like, we're not playing that poorly and we're fighting and we're scratching and we're still kind of within that one score range. So we're right at what the odds makers had us at. We're right in that +8 range. And it just felt like, my thought process going to the game was like, I think we can keep it close in the first half. And then the second half, it might be Rodgers just running away with it. Couldn't be more wrong. It was like we stuck with it in the first half, which was kind of in line with what I was thinking. And then I just kept seeing, as I'm watching, I'm like, all right, here's where Green Bay takes over. Okay, here's where the Packers put the smack down. Okay, here's where they pull away. And it was like, every time I said that or thought that, Giants make a big stop. Giants get off the field on a third down. Giants convert. Saquon Barkley goes down, and I'm thinking to myself, well, that's it. Our definitive number one weapon is now not on the field. Like, what are we going to do? We didn't have, it's insane that I'm saying this right now. We didn't have our top 4 wide receivers, Kadarius Toney, Kenny Golladay, Wan'Dale Robinson, Sterling Shepard. This same exact thing happened in 2017 where all of our receivers died in 1 week and then Eli Manning was left with no one to throw with. If this is not a testament example of why coaching matters, I don't know what to tell you, dude. You wonder, like, if Eli had a coach, an actual coach, and not Ben McAdoo, but had a Brian Daboll and a Mike Kafka, what he could have done with that friggin' team. And as much as people are like, look at what Daniel Jones was able to do with no receivers, you have to give it up for Kafka and what the play calls that he comes up with are just unreal, dude. And it's good to see Darius Slayton back in the mix and getting a lot of targets, 7 targets, 6 catches, 79 yards. I mean, and the one target that he missed was just, he just got to get his head around. And I think that's just not having enough snaps in game snaps, but you can see what the dude can do. And that kind of is a little infuriating to see what he did against the Green Bay. And then he was a healthy scratch against Tennessee. Like, what? That's what's a little confusing and befuddling. If I have one, Nitpicky Neal, how you doing, bro? I like to nitpick. So Nitpicky Neal, come on, you have the mic. Go ahead, Nitpicky Neal. Yeah. So, I don't like how Daboll and Kafka do that. It's like, all right, yeah, I get it. If there's one knock against them, it's like not putting Galladay on the field, not putting Tony on the field, not putting Slayton on the field, and running with literally Richie James, David Sills, and I mean, they had Marcus Johnson, who was like on a practice squad last week. It's just insane what they're able to do. So I believe in Dayball and I believe in Kafka. It's just, but it's kind of like, what did Slayton do that you didn't want to do what you did against Green Bay? Like what? It is a little confusing, but I thought, especially when we had the punt muffed by Jason and it touches Jason Pinnock, I was like, okay, like as soon as I saw that bounce off him, I'm like, this is how we lose the game. Unbelievable. And it's just trauma, guys. It's just trauma. It's just post-traumatic stress disorder. It's just, it's having PTSD from all those years where we've come so close to winning games. And that's why this year does feel a lot like 2016, because the ball did bounce in our favor in 2016. Whereas pretty much, name any other year in the 2010s, 2014, 2015, especially 2017, 2018, 2019, we had losing records, and it's going to look like we just got demolished in those seasons. But there are plenty of games that you can point to where being like, that was a winnable game. That was a winnable game. That was a winnable game. So yet again, it doesn't come back to haunt us, but Fabian Moreau, another solid game. Justin Lane, who was who? Nick McLeod? What? Adoree Jackson goes down. As soon as Adoree Jackson go down, I was just like, okay, so this is how Green Bay wins. Like, it's just injuries. We just can't keep up. Like, we lose Saquon, we lose Adoree. We don't have Leonard Williams. Azeez Ojulari is out. Top 4 receivers are out. Like, we're dropping like flies over here. And like, this is how it all comes undone. They're just going to pick on McLeod. They're going to pick on Lane. And that's going to be our undoing. And lo and behold, McLeod steps the F up. Lane comes up big. You're saying to yourself, and Fabian Moreau, it's like guys that would, what? And I think that's just can be tied back to the job that Wink Martindale is doing with this roster. And that's why a lot of Giants fans are like, the 4-1 record is awesome. We're the worst 4-1 team in NFL history. Hell yeah. Love winning ugly. Love winning when no one else thinks we will. Best underdog story going right now. But it's like, this is great, but we're even more hopeful for the future now. Like, our expectations for the future are cannot be like true to roof, true to stratosphere, true to universe. That's how big time the expectations are, because imagine if they had salary cap and they could make the moves they want to make, and they don't have to cut players, like great players like James Bradbury and Blake Martinez, because they had these awful contracts, and Kenny Galladay contract, which has hamstrung the team. Can you imagine if those weren't a factor and they had salary cap and they had, everything at their disposal, free reign? It's like, whoa, are we talking dynasty here? So yeah, I'm getting a little ahead of myself. Head is massive right now with all the possibilities. Julian Love, I think he had a concussion last week, had to leave the game. He leads the team in tackles, had a tackle for loss. Yet again, I have to talk about this. Why didn't Julian Love see the field at all, like in 2019? What the hell was Pat Shurmur's staff thinking? What the hell is Joe Judge's staff thinking? It just goes to show you what a good coaching staff can do for your team. They can take guys who are overlooked for whatever reason and be like, actually, no, this is a good player. Not sure what the hell the previous coaching team staffs were thinking, but these guys are good, and we're going to play them, and they're going to play well. It's like, that's just... It's insane. It makes you think, like, what, you've had a lot of haters on Daniel Jones I was a Daniel Jones defender, and then he came out in that first half against Tennessee, and I was calling for his head. I was like, enough is enough, dude. I think enough is enough. And I think this is the end of Daniel Jones. And then since then, again, the numbers are not going to show. And I think that's why a lot of the national media hasn't really come around on it yet, is because if you look in the leaderboards or whatever, you're not going to see Daniel Jones anywhere. But if you watch the games, I know that's like, you could say that about any player on any team, I guess. But if you watch the games, like that Dallas game was a coming out party in a certain respect, being gritty, being tough, and, having been pressured the entire game. Then, getting hurt against Chicago, not having his receivers, but managing to still make plays with his legs, even through a key block, on that long Barkley run, just finding ways to win the ball game. And the big difference this year, game-winning drives, being down, coming back, and actually winning. That was something that we didn't see in 2019. He had the opportunities to come back and win the game, and when it counted, and when he needed to make a play, he didn't. He instead throw a pick or fumble or come up short. So that's a huge turning point in his career. Is he's able to do this now, where he's able to avoid the big mistakes, and he goes down with the ankle injury, and you're saying to yourself, okay. I think a lot of Giants fans said this, where is this just another is this a rerun of what happened in 2020 where we're going on a run, we're gaining momentum, then he gets hurt, he comes back against the Cardinals probably prematurely. He was not even close to 100%. You're not able to use him like you typically are. And you saw what happened. His game, is diminished. His capabilities are hampered. And so he's not able to perform his best. Meanwhile, he comes back for this game. He's still got the ankle injury and looked completely different than that Cardinals game in 2020, where it's like the coaches, Kafka, Dable, dialing up great plays, and then the players execute those plays. I think it was Bobby Skinner who tweeted out, he's like, how many times have we run like a tight end reverse or sweep with Evan Engram and it's sucked almost every single time? And then we run almost like a Philly special double reverse with Bellinger where he had the option to throw and was looking to throw and he scores. And it's just like, we've never had a play like that. And anything even remotely resembling that would always end in catastrophe. So it's a little weird feeling. It's definitely weird to see that, and you even have like PMT, our PFT commenter from PMT saying like, wow, the Giants are actually fun to watch. And it's like, yeah, this is fun. I'm having fun. So, sucks to lose Adoree Jackson. I don't think it's going to be serious. There was talk about Leonard Williams possibly playing. He ends up being ruled out. And so, all that coming together, you think, okay, well, any hopes we have of having an upset are out the window. And then, you have guys like Nick McLeod step up, Tony Jefferson, Jalen Smith, Justin Lane. Like, what the fudge? So, and Rodgers was having his way with our defense in that first half. Personally, I don't know how you defend against that touchdown to Mercedes Lewis. I mean, that was as soon as he faked it one way, I'm like I'm at a loss. Like, I know exactly what's going to happen, but I'm like, there's no way we have anyone on Mercedes Lewis after that. So that was a huge play call. And again, the run defense, not that great. If you're looking at the numbers on paper, Aaron Jones averaging 4.8 yards a carry, AJ Dillon offering, almost 6 yards a carry, but only 19 carries. And it wasn't like the Giants were up big and the Packers were forced to throw. So you might want to put some of the onus on Aaron Rodgers and LaFleur and say to yourself, hey guys, the run's working. You're getting 5-6 yards a clip. Why are you deviating from it? So I ecstatic about what's going on with the New York Football Giants. Ecstatic. And it's hard to contain my excitement. It's just so hard. Looking ahead at the schedule, knowing that we took down a pretty quality team. Maybe they're not a playoff team this year. They're in the Tennessee Titans. Maybe they make a wild card, taking them down on the road, taking down Green Bay on the road in London. As much as I think we probably had a little bit more of an advantage than we did going to Green Bay, you still have to travel and you're still like all out of sorts from the travel. So dealing with the same conditions that they are and taking care of business, like executing, not making huge mistakes. The offensive line, like I said, deserves a lot of credit. There were people, myself included, who were like, we just have Andrew Thomas as a lineman and that's it. You can strap the other 4 to a rocket and send them into a black hole. And since that Cowboys game, have responded in a big way. So you can only imagine what can happen if we do get Shane Lemieux back, or if we do get Nick Gates back, because Nick Gates is back in the facility, and I think he's suiting up and he might be practicing. And maybe it did just take us, a good 4 or 5 weeks for us to really find our identity and be able to. Now, it'd be nice to put a whole game together and not just a half. I know it's great that we're a second half team, and I gotta say, I would prefer us being a second half team versus a first half team, because it's all about how you finish, not how you start. But there's a lot to be hopeful about. I can't believe the amount of negativity I had going into the season. I didn't think we were going to win a game just based on what I was, the vibes, and watching some of the preseason games and thinking to myself, whoa, like, did we make the right decision in Brian Daboll and Mike Kafka? Like, did we make the right decision? Because it doesn't feel like it. And even that first half of the Tennessee game, I was like, this is going to be such a long ass season. And now we're 4-1, still in third place in the NFC East, just because the NFC East is a beast this year. The Eagles look like they're absolutely legit. The Cowboys, are absolutely legit. And so we are the third best team in the NFC East at 4-1, which is nuts. But I think that says a lot about, I think we got a great shot at that second wild card. I really do. I think both wild cards are going to come out of the NFC East. The West is a goddamn mess. I don't know the Bucks are really like that formidable or intimidating. We just took care of the Packers. I think the Vikings maybe might be a team that kind of flies under the radar. They have a tendency to win ugly as well, so maybe they are a team that we have to look out for. So that's going to be a huge game coming down the stretches. Like, let's take care of the Vikings, and then we'll get that tiebreaker, bro. But can you look at the upcoming schedule, please? Can you pull it up? Just go ahead and pull it up. Yeah, thank you. Home against the Ravens. Now, I just watched the Ravens play the Bengals at home. They aren't great at home. They lost something like 5 straight. Their defense has suffered since Wink Martindale has moved on. Now we got Wink Martindale. It's the Wink Martindale revenge game. Hell yeah. And you got to feel like pretty good about our odds and our chances against the Ravens, having Wink, like, he has such great success against offenses that he doesn't have intimate knowledge of. And now he got intimate knowledge of his former team. Feels like we're gonna push Baltimore, and this is gonna be a barn burner. I think it probably will be low scoring. I hope, because I don't know that we would not win in a shootout. I don't think. And given that the Ravens like home losing streak, I almost want to play in Baltimore. What? Hot take. But glad we're playing at home, and hopefully we get some guys back from injury. Hopefully Leonard Williams makes his return. Azeez Ojulari, be nice to get him back in the mix. I think Aaron Robinson's done for the year, so that is a little bit of a tough pill to swallow. But the guys that have come up in his stead, next man up, have been doing the damn thing. So interested to see what Wink comes up with. Do you continue blitzing at a record pace, knowing that Lamar is elusive as hell and is probably going to gash you if you don't have a spy that is capable of keeping up with him and mirroring him and meeting him before he gets out in the open? I don't know. Other than Lamar, though, it's like, I guess Mark Andrews, the tight end, could be an issue. Landon Collins could suit up. So do you just put Landon Collins, you say, hey, Landon, that's your dude right there, 89, Mark Andrews. You need to undress that motherfucker. Like, is Landon up to the challenge? In coverage, we know he's good against the run in the box, but like in coverage, he's been kind of So it's like you put Landon on Mark Andrews, jam him up within that 5-yard buffer, and then have someone over the top, like maybe a Julian Love, or I don't know if you want to put McKinney, maybe McKinney over Andrews as well, and then you have Love free range deep. It's exciting, though. Love a good challenge, and I think this is going to be a huge challenge for us. We win this game? Oh, boy. We're now 5-1, and I think most of the league has to take us seriously. You beat Green Bay in London. People are like, I was in London, whatever. If that's in Green Bay, I don't know. So I think people have stood up and took notice, like, oh, okay, whoa, upset. And then if we beat Baltimore, it's like you got to start. I think that's when people start taking it seriously. But then I look at the rest of the next 4 games after the Baltimore game: at Jacksonville, at Seattle, home against the Texans, home against the Lions. Now, inflated ego me, and I think most Giants fans, we take Baltimore and we win, even if before the Baltimore game. You almost look at that slate and you say, yeah, 4-0. Knowing, like, seeing what we've put up against better teams, 4-0. But word of caution, my friend, the Jags have come close to beating some teams. Like, they just lost in the opener to the Commanders. I think they gave Philly a ride for their money. They played tough football. They played close football. Same can be said about the Seahawks. Like, Geno Smith is not the Geno Smith of old. He's not, fumbling in the red zone and throwing picks in the red zone for the Giants, 2017 Giants, Geno Smith. I don't even think he's a flat earther anymore. That's how much he's progressed, so he's looking like a different quarterback. So how are we going to be able to handle him? Trevor Lawrence is, I think, getting better under Doug Peterson. That some bitch cost us a playoff spot in 2020. So it's a Doug Peterson revenge game. How you doing? And then, at Jacksonville, at Seattle, those feel like trap games. And even the home games against the Texans and Lions, those feel like trap games. Those 4 games, I mean, back to back trap games. How the hell does that happen? But I can see it happening, because especially if you beat Baltimore, you walk into Jacksonville thinking you own the joint, and then you walk away with like a 23-20 loss because, we got away from what makes us tick and makes us click. So in the Texans, like, everyone's shitting on them. They just got their first win, tied Indianapolis, and they took a bunch of other games down to the wire. So they're not a pushover. And as much as the Lions got smoked against New England last week, they put up a hell of a fight against Philly. We're in the game to the end, and played the Packers tough. I think the Packers tough, but they've played some really tough football, and obviously had a stumbled against New England in New England. But I think sometimes that happens. You just have a really off week. But all 4 of those teams, as much as I want to just quickly like chalk up a W against all 4, those are trap games. Every single one of those is trap games. But goddamn, it's hard not to get my hopes up and look ahead and be like, by the time we go in to Dallas for that Thanksgiving game, there is a very good possibility. I don't even want to say it, but I have We could be 9-1. We could be like 9-1, 8-2. I mean, you heard me after the Tennessee game. I was penciling in 7-3 by the Thanksgiving game, and I had to like kind of reel myself in. I was like, it's a complete overreaction. But we're sitting at 4-1, could be 5-1 after the Baltimore game. And even if we're 4-2 and we put up a fight, I'm still feeling good about our odds. I'm still feeling good about going into that Dallas game in Dallas. So that said, the last time we got off to a 4-1 start, 2009. What happened in 2009, my man? Yeah, not great. I think we finished 8-8. Yeah, we went 4-7 down the home stretch. So really hoping that the injuries don't continue to mount, because I don't know, once you get past this next tier of players and then they get injured, I don't care who's coaching. That's going to be pretty rough. So, but if I have confidence in anyone, it's this coaching staff. Even though some of the decisions on the offensive side of the ball are and make your head ring, ding ding dong, ring a ding 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 dong. Shout out Dr. Dre. So that's the Giants.